When terrible things happen, as they do to so many people, there's kind of a choice that needs to be made by the person to whom the terrible thing has happened. You may feel in the first round of coping with the experience a horrible sense of unfairness and anger and rage, all of which are appropriate. But there comes a point where if you dwell on that, if that becomes your life definition, that what ends up happening is you say, no one can ever understand me because what I went through is unique. And in fact, what's really terrible is what I went through is so terrible that I deserve more credit in some moral sense than someone else. And this becomes a very subtle and initially legitimate form of victimhood that can become a life defining role. And if you then go down that path, then all you're going to do is spend your life telling yourself that what you went through is worse than when someone else went through, or maybe the people like you who went through your thing are better than people who went through other things. So it is a psychological, moral, spiritual position that continues to shrink your view of who you can be connected to. There's a completely different pathway. And that is to say, it is through my unique pain, my unique suffering, that I have a doorway, a bridge into someone else's unique suffering. I can never understand. For example, we talked briefly. I can never understand the trauma of a mother dealing with an ill child. But I've had moments of desperation and depression. I've had my own children. I've been through tremendous physical suffering. And so somehow those components of my life give me, almost in biological terms, connectors to which I can connect to other people. And what that has made me, and God knows not all the time, but it has made me a person, a much less judgmental person, a person who knows that we all suffer. And I am not interested in judging people for the pain they've been through, or the very last thing I want to do is say somehow what I went through is better or more worthy or whatever. And sometimes people say, well, I've been through this, but it's nothing like you went through. And I just want to say, please don't say that. It's not a competition. This is the thing that can enable us to bond beyond all the superficiality that is normally imposed on us. So that's and that's really formed a part of my life. And then when you add to that all the other things that we may talk about in a moment, the sense of brevity of life, I have almost no interest in responding to people in a superficial way. I mean, I've lived a certain kind of life, and it's actually a huge privilege that people tend, like in settings like this, to know a little bit about it. So what they do is instantly offer me some piece of their own real humanity. One reason it took me a long time to sign books is because people came up and they said, thank you so much for your talk, and I'd like you to sign this book for my son or my daughter or for me. And I'd say, tell me about your son, and out came a story, a painful story. And so that's a very important moment of human connection, even if it only lasts 2 minutes. And it allows me to write a little something that might be relevant to the thing. Now, I think that's the way much of life should be. Fewer walls and more sincerity.